This is the Speaking of Writers podcast. I'm Steve Richards. This is the Speaking of Writers podcast. I'm Steve Richards. The book is Asperia, First Light, the author Monique Angel. Following an apocalyptic disaster that has divided communities into distinct territories, sovereignties, and bound cities, humankind has evolved the ability to ascend into a fifth dimension whereby they can communicate with their ancestors for guidance. Monique Angel grew up in New Zealand, became a journalist in 2001. She had a lot of fun doing community journalism over the next decade with a very young family. She wrote children's books and poetry in her spare time, of which there wasn't very much of as a young mom. Her family of 7 children emigrated to the U.S. in 2012. This is her very first novel, Asperia, First Light. Monique, welcome to the program.
Hi, Steve.
So what is this book all about, and what is the First Light principle? So two-part question to start.
So following an apocalypse, it's set in a post-apocalyptic world called Panacea that's pretty similar to Earth. Well, okay, it's Earth, but it's set hundreds or thousands of years in the future. And following the apocalypse, Earth's been divided into communities, all with distinct separate cultures.
How did you create this world?
Oh, so I went from one culture, New Zealand, to a completely different culture, California, US. And I myself experienced a bit of culture shock coming here. But it's pretty free and easy in New Zealand, and I'm not saying that parts of California aren't, but I'll tell you a little story, Steve. I started taking my kids around to 3 different schools and preschools, mom taxi. And one day I got a call from the secretary in the school office, and she said, "Mrs. Watson," as I was at the time, "Mrs. Watson, your children aren't wearing any shoes today." And I thought, oh, is that a problem? Because sometimes my kids just wouldn't go to school in New Zealand with any shoes on. They'd wear flip-flops, as we called them, or they'd wander off in bare feet.
Yeah.
So different culture. And how did I develop it? Well, I was doing a lot of driving, and I'd drop them all off in the morning, and I kid you not, I'd have like 1 hour to myself. So I'd grab a coffee and put pen and paper and pen to paper and get as much down as I could in that 1 hour before I'd have to start it all again and go and sit in carpool. And so I'd daydream, because there's plenty of time to daydream in carpool, and all the characters started coming to me. And they came to me, so I would write about them, and plotline just developed from there. Yeah, and out of it came a book of hope and inspiration, I like to think.
We're going to talk about some of those characters in a moment. So what exactly is this First Light principle?
Oh, the First Light principle is a bit like the Force in the Star Wars. But as long as the balance is maintained, equilibrium is maintained between the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, then their ancestors can remain in ascension, and humankind can reach their ancestors in ascension for guidance and wisdom, and the ancestors will in turn be rebirthed. And it's a constant cycle of growth and change. And that adds wisdom and beauty to an unsettled world.
Now, we have these 3 heroes, Eva Ventura, Terry Ranger, and Hannah Woodhead. Eva is the head apothecarist. Terry is, animals love him. He's the chief nurturer. And Hannah, or is Hannah the chief nurturer?
Terry he's quite a quirky character, but he's beloved by animals of all shapes and sizes. So he's a bit of a goofball, but he's very serious in his approach to animals. He's deeply caring. And Hannah, she keeps the stove hot and the belly's full. So she's in the kitchen, and she's got a bit of a way with the elements. She's a bit of a druid.
How much of you is in Eva or Hannah or Terry, for that matter?
Probably all 3 of them. They have different aspects of their character, and I was writing it, and I thought, these are all aspects of me. And it's wonderfully therapeutic.
And did any of the characters come to you first, or was it the story?
Eva Ventura came to me first. Yeah, I would sit in carpool and then I would drive the kids home, and I thought, oh, yeah, I could really visualize her and how she felt things deeply and took issues seriously, especially with kids growing up.
And
She
what is
can,
Eva like?
well, she is, um, she's tallish. She is, she's got, well, auburn hair and with blonde tips, and she's a martial arts expert, and she uses herbs for healing. She supplies the townspeople with elixirs to promote health, and she's also not very sentimental when she needs to meet adversity, and she meets adversity with courage and strength. And she communes with saints who come around to offer their advice.
And Terry?
Terry, he he's funny. He's got a bit of a predilection for goofing off. So I address some of the issues that teenagers faced in my day and what do face in this day. Like they come up against drugs and alcohol, and they have to find their own way. Yeah, and they grow through cooperation and adversity. Yeah, I don't send them out into the killing fields. I like to think that teenagers can cooperate, even though sometimes it can be a bit brutal through middle school and growing up.
And how about Hannah?
Hannah, can be a bit fretful because she worries. She's caring. She's a caring warrior, so she doesn't like change. But she is very nurturing and very willing to be there and very against anybody who threatens her little household and her little nest.
And this town of Dustin, Monique, what is it like?
It could be any town in America, or for that, um, or for, yeah, New Zealand for that matter. It just, dusty roads lead in and out. They have, in the future, we have cars, but it's not necessarily on paved roads. It's maybe electric, but powered differently. So dusty roads lead in and out. There are cottages and houses. People make do with what they have. It's not particularly commercial, but it's peaceful until something threatens the township of Dustin.
And it's a place where animals come to be healed. Are you an animal person?
Oh, I very much am an animal person. I grew up with goldfish and budgies and hamsters, and yeah,
What
I
is
remember
the
the delight and the grief
mm, what does the
involved.
title mean, Asperia?
Asperia. Now, when did that come to me? Asperia. What does it mean? It's like the castle on the hill, the American meme of having your dream and hope in your heart and following it. Yeah.
And what age group is this book aimed at?
Well, it's aimed at older teenagers. So they're going to high school, freshman, sophomore, and onwards, college people and their parents, Generation X, and for that matter, baby boomers.
Did you always want to become a writer?
I did. I entered, well, when I was younger, I entered flower shows and writing contests as much as I could. I remember getting second place in one in high school. I wasn't grateful. I was very competitive. And as I grew, I went to college. I didn't complete it because it wasn't always easy to navigate one's path in life at that age. And I came around to it again when I started having a young family.
What's been the feeling like, and what was the feeling like when you got this book published?
Oh, the feeling of, I never thought I could do it.
Mm.
And then I did.
And there it is.
Here it is. And every time I pick it up and it feels so solid in my hands, I get that feeling right back again. And I took it to my local indie bookstore, and I'm going to get around as many as I can. My local indie bookstore, Rake Straw in Danville, California, And I was able to say to the bookstore owner, Michael, I said, I did it. I published a book, Michael. He was one of the first people that I met when I came here. And that was a wonderful feeling. But I said, Michael, I've got a problem now. And he looked at me and I said, now I've got to write the second.
Right.
And he said, of course you do.
We
But
like
I've started on the second.
the sophomore book coming out. I was going to ask you about that. So is it a follow-up? Can you give us a sneak peek into the second one?
It's going to be a follow-up. Now, what's going to happen? So my evil characters, it's probably no surprise, but my evil characters are going to become a little more evil. Herbert, who works in the equivalent of a council, but it's not like a council, because I also have a council concept. He becomes, his rather tenuous principles loosen even further, and he becomes more evil. He's a protege of Larvae, who's an augmented human. And so they become a little more evil. And I expand on the first light principle. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I grew up around Dungeons and Dragons and the card game Magic the Gathering. Yeah, I didn't play Dungeons and Dragons much. I'd just go along and bum a cigarette and mooch a beer and soak it all in and root for my boyfriend. So I'll be doing a lot of thinking about that and maybe some online gaming while I develop my book.
Monique, what is your writing process like? Are you an outliner or you let the story unfold as you're writing it?
Oh, I let the story unfold as I'm writing it. I turn the microphone on and I just dictate.
Do you always know the ending when you start?
No, I never know the ending. Not for the poems that I've written or the children's books that are on file somewhere on my computer, unpublished. I just start talking or start writing and let it unfold. And I always have a coffee at my side. The
coffee has to be at your side.
Yep.
What genres do you enjoy reading?
Fantasy, science fiction, historical novels, bit of Jane Austen, Emily Bronte, spy novels. That'd be my favourites.
What's the best thing about being an author now?
Being your own boss.
I hear that a lot. Yes.
Yeah, I imagine. And that's because I've got a terrible temper and a shocking vocabulary. So if something's bothering me with the plot line or something in my day, the human condition, I can sit in my little office here and I can cuss away and there's nobody to witness my reprehensible behaviour. No, it is. I usually, it's all turned at myself and I can just sit here and let a few choice words fly and nobody has to witness it.
The book is Asperia First Light, the author Monique Angel. It is available at miltonandhugo.com/bookstore, also on Amazon and Barnes & Noble too. And if you're indie bookstore, shop local, shop your independent bookstore. If they don't have it, ask them to order it for you. Monique, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
And this is the Speaking of Writers podcast. I'm Steve Richards. This is the Speaking of Writers podcast. I'm Steve Richards.